He organizes our conferences and workshops. Today, he will be covering the area of data structures in data science. So participants, be interactive and grab the knowledge from him. Now, I would like to welcome Professor Challa Narasimhan sir to start the session. Sir, over to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Sir, can we start now?
Yes, sir. Yes, please start.
I will share the screen.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Share change.
Sir,
Okay,
Kumar
sir.
garu?
Condition, sir. Visible.
Okay. So, good morning, one and all, and thank you for inviting me, sir. So, for this faculty development program, so which is very essential nowadays. So, this particular topic, like the data science. So, the reason is that the data is increasing rapidly every day because of the digitization across the globe. So every day is almost all 306.4 billion emails across the globe as per the literature, and also that 500 million tweets. So in the social networking sites, our emails, as well as that Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, and all the thing. So thereby that it will be generating a huge amount of data across the globe. So as we all that know that we are there in the global village, and also that globally that we are working. So in this particular pandemic time also, that majority of our transactions without any interruption or without any delay, that we have successfully that processed, and that we have seen in the IT companies. So even that they have earned a lot of profits also rather than going to the offices. The reason behind that one is that they will be using all the data through this particular like digitization techniques. So in this particular aspect, line of digitization, so actually that nearly the 2.5 quintillion data that is every day that is generating across the globe. So 2.5 quintillion, it is mean that 2.5 multiplied by that followed by 18 zeros. So it is not a small that is data. So when I was graduated from Andhra University Computer Engineering that time, in Andhra University Visakhapatnam, Andhra Pradesh. So that time it was very limited, and that could not find that much of like very efficient retrieving algorithms. But nowadays that we do require as the data is increasing rapidly across the globe. So and also that according to the literature and according to the surveys, and by 2025 that is even 200 plus zettabytes of information that they are expecting, and that right now also that 70% of the global GDP that is already have undergone this digitization, and another that is by 2025 that almost all the entire process, because of this industry 4.0 and all the thing in all fields, the computer technology that they are making use, and they are making use of this particular of all sorts of this particular information technology technologies. So in this particular that is a scenario, this data science and the role of the data scientist, it has become a crucial right now. The reason is that we need to organize the data in a very effective manner. We need to store the data very effective manner, and at the same time that we need to retrieve the data also, that the people are not in a position to tolerate even for 1 minute or 2 minutes. whenever that they pose the question, like in the Google search engine or anything, then they will be expecting that particular that is response within no time. So now also that we are getting that also. So within no time that will be, even if you go to the Google search engine, that when we type something, that within no time that it will be showing some thousands of that is related web pages. So it does mean that it will be having a that is traversal techniques and properly connected to the particular what the data that we require. So in this particular line, that data science that plays a major role nowadays, data science, data engineering, as well as the data analytics that plays a major role in this particular scenario across the globe. And there is a huge demand for this particular data scientists also. That so this is a faculty development program. I think that majority of the audience are the faculty members. So what I would like to that is to discuss in this particular session, that the importance of the data structures. As we know that the data structures that are very fundamental, and the people use it to study in the first year course, and after that even I am also dealing with so many students that they have gone through the first year. They might have studied that particular data structure in the first year itself in their undergraduation, and when they come to the final year, that the people, okay, it is already gone, no, that we will go through like this. But we are the faculty members that we have to reveal, and that we have to make them reveal the students to the importance of the data structures in the future. So even though that is included in the curriculum in the first year or somewhere. So that is the reason that so what I have chosen this particular topic. It is a very fundamental topic that every one of us that we are aware. So all the data structures, techniques and all. But again, that there will be a small review on that because of the importance and the role of the data structures for a data scientist, and to become a successful data scientist. So for that purpose that I have chosen this particular topic. And nearly, according to the literature, every day that nearly 466 that billion active internet users. So majority of them, even it has gone to in our country also, that even if you go to the villages also, that majority of the people who are residing in the villages also, that they will be making use of this particular internet because of that we do have that a smart mobile, that every one of us are having that smart mobiles, and that are well connected with the internet, and they will be doing all sort of transactions. That is the reason that 466 billion active internet users, you can estimate that. So in 2021, nearly that 2 trillion Google searches. So it makes that it does mean that every day that we will be creating, and we are generating a huge amount of data. So to retrieve and to make it effective, and to get the proper information for a particular given query. So how the data structures will play a major role. So I would like to discuss in this particular session. So it's every one of us that you are aware, but we need to reveal the importance of this particular data structures, and the important the time complexity and the space complexity, and how important that is. The reason is both are the important characteristics. Time is one important characteristic, and space is another important characteristic.
Excuse me, sir.
So, madam.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you, sir, but are you sharing something, because I am not able to see your
No, madam.
presentation?
Till now I have not shared.
Okay.
Till now I have not shared. Okay, I will share
Okay,
it.
sir. Okay.
As the thing is that the two important the characteristics for a particular anything like time as well as space. So these are the things that I'm going to just review in this particular session. Madam, now I will share it, madam. Madam, is it visible, madam?
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Okay, ma'am.
Can you just make it full screen, or you can just zoom it? Yeah, it's visible, sir.
Okay, madam.
Okay, thank you, sir.
So why? So that is the reason that I have chosen this particular topic, and so why these data structures that are important for a data scientist. So as just now that we had a discussion, like for example, the huge amount of people that are using the particular digitalization process. So a huge amount of data that is generating every day, and every month, every week, as well as every year. So it is a way, thereby that we will be generating a massive amount of the data. So that particular massive amount of data has to be managed properly uh, for um, uh, for our process, and that whatever the decisions that we want to take or something that we need. And for that purpose, that we have to have a very efficient algorithms, and also that we need to identify some factors to boost the particular algorithms to improve the efficiency. The two characteristics of the particular algorithm, one is the time and the another one is the space. So the times as well as the space are the important, like the complexity, time complexity and the space complexity. So the data structures that are very what I feel that is very important for every one of us to understand it properly, and then we need to reveal it to the students how that is important in their career, like that. That is the reason I have chosen this particular topic. So the data structure, it is all we are aware that is a means of organizing the data in a system to access and use. And also that it is a blend of data organization, data management, retrieval, and storage. So each one, when a particular student wants to become a data scientist, so we need to focus on like organization, data organization. So how effectively that will there are so many methods that we know that. So how effectively the data that can be organized that to save it in the particular memory for later use whenever that we require. So if it is not properly organized, then we cannot retrieve the data with an efficient manner. As well as that, if it is not organized properly, then it will take so much of time to retrieve the data. And so there is also, it will be some problem to the particular organization, the person who is working with the organization. So there are so many parameters so that are associating with that. One important thing like that we need to stress, and that we need to focus more on that, how the data that can be organized, and also that management and retrieval techniques, fast retrieval techniques. There are many, like right now that in artificial intelligence, that deep learning techniques and the reinforcement techniques, so that are playing a very vital role to retrieve the particular whatever the application it is. It may be like health management, or it may be a banking application, or it may be an insurance company, or it may be a manufacturing company, or it may be a product based company, or any sort of company that now that they will be adopting this particular process as a part of industry 4.0, so that whatever the person, maybe from a mechanical engineer, or maybe the student from mechanical engineer, or civil engineer, or from chemical engineer, not only for a computer student, that every nowadays that all the students that do require this particular retrieving techniques, then only that they can find a very good place to whatever the changes that are taking place across the globe as a part of this industry 4.0, that leads to even our in our country also, that they will be coming up with so many transformations in the education, that is education 4.0, and so many things in their curriculum and all the things. So retrieval is one important that is parameter, and the storage is also that is a very important. Like for example, big data. Big data is how the particular information that can be stored, huge amount of information that can be stored, and how it can be retrieved. So we cannot say that the particular data structure like it is a meaning of it is a one-line statement like that. So it comprises of so many things, like how data, that is how effectively that we will be organizing the data, and how effectively that we will be retrieving, and how effectively that we will be managing to perform all sort of operations, and how effectively that the data that we are going to store in a particular because that memory is also very important, and that relating to the cost. And also that there are so many things nowadays that the people one side that the majority of the people that they are working to the benefit of the society, in the other side, like hackers, they always that try to create some sort of like inconvenience, that there is a need to store that some like duplicate data also. So rapid array of inexpensive disks. The reason behind that one is that everything that is connected to one and all. So we cannot limit ourselves to only the 4 words like organization, management, retrieval, and storage, but it is having internally is a very important thing according to my observation. And all that brought together into one format that allows efficient access and modification, that everything is an integral part. So if you have done organization properly, and if you have not managed, and anything that is having some sort of like breaches, then automatically that we cannot have a proper access, and as well as that proper retrieval of the correct information. So the efficient access as well as that retrieval and the right information to retrieve within no time is the finally that one will expect that. So for that purpose, that one should have to have this data structures in a very clear understanding, and having its own importance, what I feel, in dealing with particular present day data, to manage the data. So here the simple thing that how data structure we know that, but when we deal with some sort of like students, that it is better if we go to with some like some examples. So if we go to the library and if we want to find a book on a 20th century military history, that we have to go to the history section, and from there we have to find the designated area set aside for military history. So there are the library that you can find that so many that is sections. So in that we need to go to the military history, then through the books sorted in chronological order until you found the 20th century. Now consider the books as your data. Consider the books that what the placed in the history, that after going through the 20th century as the data, and the library's method of sorting the books. So that is important. The library's method of sorting the books as a data structure. So here it is having sorting as well as searching techniques also. So one is the time, and another one is the space, and also that the searching techniques as well as the sorting techniques. So if anything that like for example not properly designed, then automatically that it will create some sort of like inconvenience. So this is a simple like example. When we go to the library and to find a particular history book, we have to go to the history that is a section, and then you have to find out the 20th century. In the 20th century that you can find so many books. So all the books that are your data, and that if all the books are arranged in a particular sorting manner, like for example in accession number, or for example author name, or something like that, if we have arranged sorted the books, then it will be easy to retrieve the student to anyone, to reader, to pick up the particular book. Here also the same thing, that when we are storing the data in a digital world, so if the data that is storing the particular data in a particular by having a particular sorting technique. There are many, like for example, selection sort is there, merge sort is there, quick sort is there, divide and conquer. There are many sorting techniques that efficient sorting techniques are there. By adopting some of the efficient sorting techniques, then we need to organize the data so that the searching will be done fast and that we can retrieve the data. Whatever the data that is required, we can retrieve it in a very fast manner. So the time, as well as one is time and the another one is space and the another one is searching techniques and the other one is sorting techniques, all are very important for a data scientist. But to become a successful data scientist, that all are important. All this will be discussed in the particular data structures, what I feel. So here to perform all these things, that we need to go to that algorithm. So we know that every one of us, we are aware that it is a step-by-step instruction that are designed to solve a particular problem or to perform a particular task. So here, why to write this particular algorithm and what are the important characteristics? The two characteristics, all these are, it will be associating with the time and space that we will discuss after this. And the basic data structures that we know, arrays, some are static and some are dynamic. Static memory allocation as well as dynamic memory allocation, and the traditional, some depending upon the application and depending upon the need and depending upon the amount of information that we are going to store, that we need to select. Sometimes that we can select, we can go for static memory allocation, and sometimes that static memory allocation may not work out. In that case, that we have to go for this dynamic memory allocation. So all the two static memory allocation as well as dynamic memory allocation that are right now that are available, that are described in this particular data structures, as all we are aware, but each one is having its own importance, what I feel. So even arrays are also having its own importance, even as compared to this advanced data structures. So all these are the basic data structures: arrays and dictionaries, graphs, hash tables, heap, linked list, queues, stacks, trees. That all that we are well versed, but each and everything will be having its own importance and depending upon the application. And sometimes that in the particular application that there is a need to use some static allocation as well as some dynamic allocation. So if the student is able to understand the difference between the static allocation and the dynamic allocation, that the appropriate allocation technique that the student can adopt. For example, at some places that array representation may be sufficient. So in some cases that they need to go for this particular heap or heaps, or for example, sometimes there is a need to go for queue structure or stacks. And the queues, again, that there are many queues that we know, like a circular queue or D queue or like that. And the trees also, that we do have so many trees like binary trees and binary search trees and AVL trees, splay trees, and many and graphs also like that. Depending upon the situation, that each and every one that we need to make it understand to the student to become a particular a successful data scientist. So each concept, how important that is very important. That is the reason only that the data structures that what I have chosen for this particular in this particular FDP. The advanced data structures like binary, indexed tree, disjoint set, segmented tree, k-dimensional tree, and self-balancing binary search trees, and also the suffix array and the tree, and the trie is a decision tree. So other advanced data structures that according to the, depending upon the need, then they have to deploy. But all these are important for a student to understand to make him to make the student a successful data scientist, data engineer. So here, as I was discussing in the previous, like the two parameters, one is the time, another one is space. Apart from that, the two techniques like searching techniques as well as sorting techniques, the two fundamental primary searching algorithms that are binary as well as a linear, that we know that. So linear, it does mean that it is a common traditional process that if you are looking for a particular friend, then in the particular queue, then we have to go to the entire line and then we have to look at each and every face until that we find our required person. So that is one by one, one by one, one by one, that it will be searching. So the search that will go one by one. So that is a linear search that we know that it takes sometimes, for example, whatever that our target object that is there in the first 5 or 10 places, then it will be okay. For example, if it is there in the last in the list, then we have to take a long time to identify or to find the particular target object. So, but this is also having its own importance, and it will be that we will see that how time complexity that will be associating with this particular searching technique. It is like omega is the best one, and like big O notation and theta notation. So that we will see in this presentation and after this. So the one is the linear, that we know that one by one, and a binary, that it is something like it is more efficient as compared to the linear searching technique. And one important thing is that in the binary search, that all the items that there is a need to arrange in some sort of like order, either in the ascending order or in the descending order, then we can make we can divide the entire queue into off parts, two parts, and the search that automatically at one particular instance, that we can reduce the 50% the elements that can be eliminated. So in that case, then what will happen is that whatever the object that we are going to trace or to find, so the number of searches that can be reduced as compared to the linear. So the binary search, that is something efficient, but we have to this particular technique, when we are going to even in the Google searching techniques also, like for example, and I will give you the example also that afterwards. When we are entering something, then almost all the searching techniques that follows either linear or binary, to make it fast, that obviously that the available, the efficient searching technique is the binary searching technique. Like that, many other searching techniques are there as compared to the linear, is also one of the traditional searching technique, basic technique. So here, if you need to search through messy or disorganized data, and it is recommended to go for linear approach, or otherwise that it is better to go for binary searches. And when to go for linear and when to go for binary means that if it is disorganized data and the data is not properly organized and the proper is a messy, and there is no particular proper structure, and in that case that each and every one that is object is need to verify. So in that case, then generally that we will prefer linear searching technique. And if it is organized, properly organized, and is not having any messy, then we can go for this binary searching technique. So this is as compared to this linear approach, this binary approach is obviously that is effective. So other types of the searching available besides the linear and binary, so that includes BFS, that we know that breadth-first search and DFS and exponential searching, these two generally that will come under the tree, and the exponential search and the Fibonacci and the interpolation search and jump and sublist and recursive function, recursive manner, and ubiquitous binary search and unbounded binary search. So like that, the other searching techniques are also there in addition to the linear, and whatever and wherever that is required, that the student must be in a position to understand all the things, all the searching techniques, and whatever that is appropriate and whatever that is required, then according to the requirement and according to the data and all the things, then they have to deploy the searching technique. So another one is that sorting is also another important feature for the data structure. So need to order the elements either in the ascending order or descending order or in the chronological order according to some. If there is some organized manner, then even binary search also will work, and binary search that will have its own impact as compared to the linear search. That is effective. So the sorting algorithms that plays a major role for the data scientist. So unsurprisingly, the data scientists work a lot with searching and sorting only. So the data scientists, when they want to write the programs by any language like Python or anything, then they use the data structures that will be dealing with the searching techniques and the sorting techniques. The more popular sorting algorithms that we know, like merge sort, quick sort, heap sort, introduce sort, and insertion sort, bubble sort, selection sort. So all these sorting techniques and the searching techniques. So the student should be in a position to understand and have to understand clearly and what to implement, and also that in the coming thing that we will discuss about the time complexity and space complexity also. So time complexity and the space complexity, and accordingly which one is efficient technique, then they need to understand and they need to apply. So that's the reason this particular for a data scientist, this searching and sorting that plays a major role, and that can be implemented by any programming language. It may be C or C++ or Java, or by Python. Python is the most suitable programming language nowadays because it works for all categories of data. In addition to this sorting and searching techniques, the two additional searching techniques, valuable data searching techniques, dynamic programming, and another one is string pattern matching. So dynamic programming, it is dynamic programming. It does mean that we cannot give a solution straight away, the solution to a big problem. The thing is that in the dynamic programming, that what we will do is that we will go to converting or dividing the big problem into the smaller problems. So here in this example, for example, the dynamic programming takes its cue from the old riddle, is a old this one. So how do you eat an entire elephant? The answer is one bite at a time. Dynamic programming breaks the big problem into many smaller problems. Each time the dynamic programming solves a subproblem, it saves the results, and eventually the dynamic programming combines all the saved results to solve the big problem. So this is everyone knows, but how it has to be implemented and how important it is in the today's in this particular today's scenario. So because that you have seen that how much amount of data by 2025 that it is going to generate 200 plus zettabytes. Zettabytes means 21 zeros. It will be followed by 21 zeros. So 200 followed by another 21 zeros. Amount of data that is going to be generated, that is the expected one according to the literature. So in that particular data, huge amount of data, then how effectively within no time that we need to get the results. So that is a very challenging task for the data engineer or the data scientist. So the data scientist must adopt the efficient and effective techniques. All are the basic techniques, the searching techniques and sorting techniques. All the terms are common, the time and space. But which one is very effective and which one is more that is compatible, and which one is more that is having a proper connectivity with the particular application. So, and accordingly that the data engineer, the data scientist has to implement it. That is the reason that the data scientist should be must have a thorough understanding in all sorts of like data structure technologies. So how the data that can be organized, how the data that can be managed, how the data that can be retrieved, how the data that can be stored, in each and everything that the particular person has to have the clear understanding. And as a technology that is improving, that and a lot of research that is going on, that every time that even efficient and effective algorithms that are also coming and into this particular area, and the research never ends, that it will go on. So depending upon the need and depending upon the situation, and if that time, if the problem complexity is growing more, and accordingly, so the new techniques and the new methods that also will come into that is the outcome of the research. Research is a never-ending process, so it will come. But as of now, that the basic thing, like everything that will be basing on that fundamental things only. So if the particular data scientist, if they are strong in the fundamental areas, then any new technology or any new technique that comes, that particular student who wishes to become a successful data scientist can adopt the new changes and can implement it effectively. So the dynamic programming and string pattern matching. So here is like a pattern. So what we are using nowadays, that phone pay and all the thing, that we will be paying all the money, and we are not going to anywhere, and that simply that we are scanning the QR code and then we will be paying. So even now that we will be organizing all our workshops, and this one also, that no need to get all the details, that if we scan the QR code, there is one pattern. So the QR code, then automatically that the complete information that is coming into our system. So the time schedules, and the plan, and the speakers, and the resource persons, and the timing, and everything that will be coming, and the registration process. So everything that will be coming there is only by scanning that particular QR scanning code. So that is also a particular, is nothing but a pattern. So now that pattern matching is also, that is where is also having its own importance. So that is the reason that these two, that they will be considering as a valuable data searching techniques, because the first one, that will be dealing with a huge amount of data every day, that we are generating, the world is generating huge amount of data. So that the customers, anywhere you say that any health issues, or for example banking system, or production, marketing, or anything, even Amazon or something, that the people are purchasing that almost all the items through online only. Even that the people nowadays, that they are not preparing the food at home also, that they are placing that food even online. Even our students are also that and during that lunch time, that majority of the people that we are not permitting into the campus, but if we go to the main gate, then the people will wait. The students will wait for the Swiggy food. So the reason behind that one is that you can see that they will be going through the person that is completely that is depending upon the technology. So how many number of people that they will be depending on this one? It does mean that how much amount of data that is generating. So how to deal with that? So we have to go for this effective technologies like the dynamic programming or string pattern matching, and to make it effective for a fast accessing. Now the two characteristics that that we have already that we have pointed out, that one is the time and another one is space. The two are the important characteristics for a particular algorithm. Whatever the procedure that we have written to solve a particular task, that is an algorithm. That algorithm that will be that will have its own characteristics. The two important characteristics, one is the time and another one is the space. So when we are dealing with larger data sets, this particular time as well as space that become a very important when we deal with a huge amount of data, and how that will be influencing that the code that will be influencing the speed at which our data is analyzed, because that we will be dealing with huge amount of data. So there the three notations like big omega and big O and big theta. So among them, that big O notation that will be playing a major role. The reason behind that one is this will be dealing with worst case. So big omega that will be dealing with the best case, and big theta that is dealing with when these two are same, then big theta will come into that picture. So big O notation, so that is the worst case. So big O notation as a method for describing the time and the space complexity. So the big O notation is we are all that aware, but what I'm planning to in this particular session is that the importance, the data scientist and the data engineer nowadays is having its own demand across the globe. But that particular data scientist or the data engineer, that if should have a proper understanding and proper usage of the data structures. So that is important. That is what I nowadays that what I used to tell to my students also. The fundamentals are very important like that. So the big O notation, an algorithm is characterized by its running time. It is whether it in terms of the space or the time. As the data scientist, the most efficient algorithm can optimize our workflow. Under that efficient algorithm, the most efficient algorithm, the two parameters that can make efficient algorithm are the space and the time. Formal notations like big omega is the best scenario. The big omega of an algorithm that describes how quickly an algorithm can run under the best of the circumstances. So the best of the circumstances, the best scenario. So nowadays that we cannot think everything that will be the best, that we have to go to the other side also. So that is the reason that the big O that is playing a major role. Big O is the worst case scenario. So to make it successful, like a plan A and plan B, so the first thing is that we should have this one also. Big O is also important. The big O that will be dealing with the worst case scenario. The big O time interested in how slowly a given algorithm will run at a worst level. This is at the best, this is at the worst. So we cannot assume all the times that is the best. So sometimes say that we will have that unorganized data. We will have that very clumsy data, very big problem. So in that case, that we need to go for this big O notation. So if it is everything is organized and everything is properly defined, proper data structures are there, in that case that this will be okay. But we cannot expect in all cases. So to make it true for all the cases, then we need to have big O as well as that big omega also. So big theta to describe the runtime of an algorithm, if the big O and the big omega are the same. If the two are same, worst and best case, if the two are the same, in that case, big theta will come into the picture. So this timing is very important, that we have to focus, we have to uh, ask the student. So when they are writing that algorithms, that at what type of algorithm that they are writing, whether they are writing that efficient and effective algorithm or not. So whether they are considering that the two important characteristics, time and space or not, whether that particular, whatever the data that they are going to deal, the particular data, whether it is organized or not, properly organized or not. So this sort of thing that we need to create a good awareness to the student to become a successful data scientist or the data engineer. So how, this is a simple example, big O to describe an algorithm. It is a phone book that comprises of all the person's phone numbers. So in this case, for example, what we are going to find a phone number for a particular person that is there in the first page, then it will be okay. For example, if the person you are going to find the contact number of a particular person that is there in the, for example, last page, the book comprises of 1000 pages. So in that case, that we have to go name by name, so page by page to trace the particular thing. So it is a quite a traditional searching technique and a simple searching technique that we have to go page by page, page by page. So in that case, that the number of searches, that will be the number of items. In this case, that our algorithm is a simple search. The big O notation allows us to describe what our worst case is. That our worst case is that the total number of elements. The total number of elements, for example, n in the phone book, then we can describe the runtime as big O of n, the number of operations. So the last one, we cannot assume that the best case, that we have to always that assume that worst case. So because the maximum number of operations is equal to the maximum number of elements in our phone book. So big O of a simple search is big O of n. A simple search will never be slower than big O of n time. So this one. So Kumar garu, am I audible?
Yes, sir. Audible. Viనిపిస్తున్నారు.
Okay.
Clear గానే ఉంది.
Okay. So that is the big O of a simple search, that is big O of n. And in the similar manner that there are other different big O runtimes depending upon that time complexity from the fastest to slowest. After big O of n, big O of log n, as known as the log time, and big O of n, and this fastest to slowest. This one is the fastest. Then the next fastest is that big O of n. Then big O of n log n, and big O of n square, and big O of n factorial. So if it is big O of n factorial, this is the very slowest. So according to this particular parameters, then there is a a survey that was made by this particular Bigo sheet.com. So they have given this particular that is available in the literature. So the number of elements as well as the number of operations. So if it is the green is excellent, that Big O and so Big O of 1 at the first attempt, Big O of log n and Big O of n up to this fair. Then Big O of n log n, and it is taking more time. And these all three, Big O of n square, Big O of 2 power n, and Big O of n factorial, all these three is horrible. Under that, the time complexity is like worse, bad. So we need to, under that, the student who is writing that particular algorithm or the going to implement that what sort of like algorithm that is writing, that particular algorithm nowadays, that to become the successful data scientist, that particular algorithm should address the two important characteristics, the time and space. So because the reason is that they are going to deal with huge amount of data. The data is generating like anything. The data every time that the data is generating, that according to the literature, that every human that will be creating at least 1.7 MB of data per second. 1.7 MB of data every second, and according to the literature. So you can see that the data is generating, all the data, it is there in the form of a digitalization, zeros and ones, that is stored at some place. So that particular digitized data that comprises of some good data and some useful data, some sort of like unused data, and some sort of like a pictures, some sort of like stories, some sort of like music, and in any format, the data that is generating in some format. So out of that, some of them that is very, very useful data. So that particular useful data, how to retrieve it? So there is so much of data that in that particular data that we know that right now that we are seeing that WhatsApp and all these social networking sites, Facebook, Instagram, that many pictures or photos that are uploading. It does mean that the data that is generating, that are storing it in the cloud. They're storing it in the cloud. So the cloud is also right now available. So that is also a good thing for us, that no need to store directly in the particular servers or somewhere. So that will be maintaining by that will be storing in the data marts somewhere. So that will be taken care by the companies like IBM, the companies like Amazon EC2, and IBM, Microsoft. That majority of the companies that they are maintaining their own clouds to store their relevant information, and wherever that we go, and wherever that if we are having a system and the system is properly connected with an internet, then if you are having an authorization to make use of the cloud, then we can connect to the cloud and we can download, and once that processed information again we can upload it to the cloud, then it is okay. So how much amount of data that is generating? So you see that the literature 1.7 MB of data that is generating by every human in this particular digital world per second. So what sort of algorithms that the student, the particular person has to write, how effectively that could be. So that is the reason this particular data structure that will be having its own importance in even for the data scientist to become a successful data engineer. So this particular graph, it has been created by, after all receiving the information, and Bigo sheet.com. So these complexities. So big O of n square, big O of 2 power n, big O of n factorial, all these that comes under that horrible. Horrible, it has been that cannot retrieve. It takes so much of time to retrieve, to have an access. And remaining big O of n, big O of log n, and big O of 1, and up to this, it is something like fair. It is also something okay, big O of n log n. But these three that are horrible. So we have to clearly that we have to reveal how to tell that to our students that the importance of writing that algorithm in terms of that time as well as the space. Other techniques, in addition to that, the other techniques like recursion. As we know that recursion technique and divide and conquer. That is also that we know, every one of us, that we are aware. This is like divide and conquer, a problem and again subproblem and subproblem, until that we need to give the solution for the subproblem, and then first of all that we need to split, and then once we have when we are in a position to give the solution, then again that we need to merge. Then we can say that we can give the solution for the complete problem. The common algorithms that we know, simple searching techniques like binary search and big. Here one thing, that simple search that will be like big O of n, big O of n time, and binary search this part that we are, every one of us, that we know the sorted data and the thing. Binary search involves the halving of your data set. So the big O time is big O of log n. So big O of log n is faster than big O of m. So if we see that the order, we see the order that big O of log n, that will be taking less time as compared to the big O of n. So big O of n, that is the time complexity for simple search, and for binary search it is big O of log n. Even sorting techniques are also like that. Many like selection sort, and what I would like to show you, that one final one chart that is having its own importance. Quick sort. And each quick sort, that is the time is big O of n square. Quick sort is unique because its speed is dependent on the pivot selection. At worst, it can take big O of n square time, which is as slow as selection sort. However, if the pivot is always some random element in the list, the quick sort that runs big O of n log n as compared to the selection sort. The merging sort. Merge sort runs on big O of n log n time because the entire list is hollowed into big O of log n. Finally, I would like to, space is also the same thing. So the strong data structures like stack, queue is all the thing that I would like to show. The last one, that all that we are aware. We are aware that what I would like to tell you, that the importance of the data structure to become a successful data scientist. So without having a proper knowledge and without having a proper understanding of the data structures, the person cannot become a successful data scientist. That is what I would like to share with you all. Everything is very important. Each and every one is very important, and I will go to the last one. This one. Is it visible, sir? Kumar garu? Kumar garu?
Sir, visible,
Yes, sir,
sir.
Yes,
it's
sir.
visible.
Yes, sir. It is available. It is visible.
Okay. So you can kindly look at this particular thing, sir. This is also that I have collected from the literature. So that time complexity and the space complexity. So for all types of the data structures like array, stack, queue, and single linked list, double linked list, and skip list, hash table, and binary search tree, Cartesian tree, binary tree, red black tree. Red black tree is a self-balancing binary search tree, and the splay tree. This is also a self-balancing search tree. Recently, that is recently assessed elements that will be associated with recently assessed elements and a quick access to the particular item again. AVL, we know that is a balancing tree, left and right subtrees. This is k-dimensional tree. The time complexities are here. It is space complexity. The space complexity for all the data structures, the big O of n, except this skip list. So big O of n log n. And if we see that the faster thing, that even big O of n, big O of log n, and big O of n, and then big O of n log n. So almost all are having that same, that is space in the worst case. In the worst case, space complexity. But coming to that time complexity is average and worst case. Let us see that worst case, sir. In terms of the parameter access, in terms of the parameter search, in terms of the parameter, the two operations like insertion and the deletion. So array is this. So here almost all are having this worst case is big O of n. Big O of n, big O of log n, or big O of n log n. The time complexity is also that in terms of the access, the four parameters: access parameter, searching parameter, and insertion and deletion. And again, if you see this, so it is not going to like horrible. If it goes to the horrible, like for example, big O of n factorial. Big O of n factorial, it does mean that it is almost all, that is, it is very big O of n square, or big O of 2 power n, or big O of n factorial. So in that case, if anything like the time complexity, then the problem that will be having a severe issue, and the data retrieval for any sort of like operation to have an access, or to such an element, or to insert, or to perform any operation, or insertion, deletion, modification, or any sort of like operations, that will be very difficult in those cases, the time complexity. So by having a proper data structure, that is when we will get that big O of n square and big O of 2 power n and big O of n factorial, means that if the data is not properly organized, if the data is not properly managed, and for example, the data that we are that is a messy, and we are not following an efficient structuring algorithms, data structured algorithms. So in that case, then it will go to that big O of n square, like that. So whatever our question, and it has to have an access to the particular data, and it has to retrieve that response. It definitely it will take more time, because that is an unorganized and having a huge amount of data, no a proper data structure. In that case, that how a person who is going to become a particular data scientist, that how the person can be successful in that particular profession. So that is a reason that the data structure that will have its own importance and play a major role implementation is different. Any programming language, we know that nowadays that Python programming language is the effective one. So, but even any sort of like artificial intelligence techniques or any sort of like deep learning techniques or reinforcement techniques, and that are also very important for a retrieval of a particular data, to identify, to search, as well as to retrieve the particular data. That is also very important. The mathematics also that plays a major role here. But above all, the thing is, if the person wants to become a proper data scientist and are not having a thorough understanding of writing the algorithm and having an idea about that the important parameters like the time and space, and like the two terms, the searching and sorting algorithms, efficient searching and sorting algorithms, in my opinion, the person cannot be successful as a data scientist or data engineer. To become, so the data structures are very, very essential, and need to understand thoroughly about that the parameters and that advanced searching techniques, like for example, dynamic programming is there and pattern matching is there. So dynamic programming is also having, because that straight away that we cannot give the solution for a big problem. So how that can be converting into a sub problem, and how to address the sub problem, and how to write a proper data structure, and how to write a proper algorithm for the structure. It may be anything, like it may be array, or it may be stack, or it may be linear, or it may be non-linear, or it may be any sort of like searching algorithms or sorting algorithms. If the person is in a position to write that particular algorithm in an efficient manner by considering those parameters, time and complexity, then definitely that it can be implemented in any programming language, so that whatever the huge amount of data, there are suitable methods that are available, and can become a successful data engineer or data scientist. So this particular data structures will be having its work not only in this particular area to become a data scientist, but this particular FDP is relating to data science. That is the reason that I am telling. But data structures that are everywhere, that is required everywhere, whatever it is, to become a particular successful computer professional, it is very much important. So with this, sir, that I'm planning to conclude my presentation. Kumar garu?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Uh,
Participants, you can respond if you want to raise any questions, or if you want to share something, please. Participants, do you have any questions in this session? And sir, Narasimham, sir.
no, okay, sir.
2:30 to 3:30 session.
Okay. Yes.
3:30 తర్వాత valedictory session is there, sir. Just 15 minutes, sir.
Okay. Okay.
మీరు కంటిన్యూ అవ్వాలి.
Sorry, sir.
Valedictory మీరే గెస్ట్.
Okay. Okay. 2:30 to 3:30. That in India, not
3:30 onwards, maybe maximum 4.
Okay.
Valedictory session.
Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Join again at 2:30, sir.
Okay, sir. Good.
Okay. Okay, sir. Thank you. Participants exam Google form will share at the chat box at 12 o'clock, and you have to submit by maximum 3:30.
Sir, is it possible to share the same on the WhatsApp also? I mean, in case somebody get disconnected, the chats are not available. So if you can share it on the WhatsApp group as well.
No problem, madam. We'll share it. At the time of 12 o'clock, we'll share it. WhatsApp group also. Okay. I think everybody know that attendance is mandatory. Once attendance is there, then only marks will be counted. Without attendance, marks will not be counted. Okay. First, we have to get the 80% attendance, then only marks will come into the scene. Without attendance, marks will not give the, because of marks, certificate will not come. Okay, we'll post the link, Google form link, chat box, as well as the WhatsApp group also. We can continue the next session at 12 o'clock by Dr. J. Somashekar. Sir already handled one session on Tuesday. He will join and he will discuss about the case, some of the case studies in the data science. Maybe most probably he may handle the case studies related to the fraud detection, time series prediction, like that. And you can also ask if you are working in any case study, you can also ask doubts on that. Thank you. We'll meet again at 12 o'clock. Manas, come here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, okay.